2.5 Unit 7B.
How long have you worked for your company?
For 25 years, since I left college.
So, when did you study engineering?
I started college when I was 19, and I qualified as an engineer about 4 years later.
And have you always lived in Pennsylvania?
No, I've lived in lots of different places. In the energy business, you live where the work is.
So, when did you move here?
In 2007, just after they found the gas here.
So, how many different places have you lived in, do you think?
I'd say about 15, maybe 16 places.
Have you ever lived abroad?
Yes, but only for about 3 months.
And how does Pennsylvania compare with other places? Has it been easy living here?
Yes, it has overall.
Have the local people been friendly?
Yes, they have. Well, most people anyway.
But not everyone.
Some people didn't want us here in the beginning because they were worried about the environment. But the changes have been good for this region. It's brought jobs back to Pennsylvania. So I think most people have understood how important this is.
2.6 Unit 7D.
Right. Have a seat, Ruby.
Thanks.
So, I've received your CV and your letter of application, and I see your current job is as a sales assistant at Rayston's bookshop. So, how long have you worked there?
I've been there for about 18 months.
Oh, yes, I see now. So, in that case, why have you applied for this position?
Well, I've really enjoyed my work at Raystone's. I've always been interested in books, and usually the customers are really nice, and I like trying to find books for them, especially the rare copies of books.
So, why do you want to leave them?
Because it's quite a small independent bookshop, whereas EI Books is a much bigger company. I read on your website you have over 50 branches now, and you're still growing. And I see you also have a website where people can order books. So I think there are probably lots of opportunities for me in the future.
Well, it's true that we've grown quickly in recent years. And it's nice to see you've found out about the company. So, would you describe yourself as ambitious?
I don't know. Not especially, but I'd like to have a successful career.
And what are some of your main strengths?
I work hard and I enjoy working with other people. And, I can solve problems.
So, I can ask you to do something and you can do it on your own.
Yes, I think so.
Well, I've asked you a lot of questions. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I have. I've applied for the post of sales assistant here, but earlier I said I was interested in developing a career. Are there often opportunities in the company for promotion?
Yes, we're growing all the time, and if you are prepared to move, there are jobs at other branches.
OK, great. And in the job description, it says you offer flexible hours. Can you tell me more about that?
Sure. Because we open our bookshops in the evenings as well as during the day, we ask staff when they prefer to work. We have one member of staff who likes to work a few hours in the morning and then a few hours in the evening.
I see.
1.7 Unit 2 Opener.
The swimming race in the photo is one part of 3 races in total. The competitors swim for 3.86 kilometres, that's 2.4 miles, cycle for 180 kilometres, and run a marathon at the end. It's called the Ironman Triathlon, and the men swimming in the photo are all competing at the annual Ironman World Championship in Hawaii. Hundreds of people compete, but thousands of spectators also watch the famous contest. They all want to see someone win the ultimate test of fitness.
2.8. Unit 8A.
More than 1 billion people in the world don't have glasses, but need them. These people live in parts of the world where there aren't many opticians. For example, in parts of Africa, there is only one optician per million people. But now there is a scientist who has found a solution to the problem. Joshua Silver has invented glasses which don't need an optician. They look like a pair of normal glasses, but there is a pump on each side with silicone oil. First, you turn a wheel which controls the pump. The pump pushes the silicone oil through the pipe and it moves into the lenses. The shape of the lens changes and you turn the wheel until you can see correctly. Silver had the idea a few years ago, and he did many experiments before he got it right. The first person who used the new glasses was a man in Ghana. The man made clothes, but he had bad eyesight and found it difficult to work. But when the man put on the glasses, he could start working again. Silver says, "I will not forget that moment." As a result, Silver started an organization which is called the Center for Vision in the Developing World. The glasses are cheap to produce, and so far the organization has worked in Africa, Asia, and Eastern Europe, where over 30,000 people now wear the glasses. Joshua hopes 1 billion people across the whole world will have them by 2020.
2.9. Unit 8A.
More than 1 billion people in the world don't have glasses, but need them. These people live in parts of the world where there aren't many opticians. For example, in parts of Africa, there is only one optician per million people. But now there is a scientist who has found a solution to the problem. Joshua Silver has invented glasses which don't need an optician. They look like a pair of normal glasses, but there is a pump on each side with silicone oil. First, you turn a wheel which controls the pump. The pump pushes the silicone oil through the pipe and it moves into the lenses. The shape of the lens changes and you turn the wheel until you can see correctly.
2.10. Unit 8A.
Silver had the idea a few years ago, and he did many experiments before he got it right. The first person who used the new glasses was a man in Ghana. The man made clothes, but he had bad eyesight and found it difficult to work. But when the man put on the glasses, he could start working again. Silver says, "I will not forget that moment." As a result, Silver started an organization which is called the Center for Vision in the Developing World. The glasses are cheap to produce, and so far the organization has worked in Africa, Asia, and Eastern Europe, where over 30,000 people now wear the glasses. Joshua hopes 1 billion people across the whole world will have them by 2020.
2.11. Unit 8B.
So, what are we going to take with us?
Well,
I don't know what the weather's going to be like. If it rains, we'll need all this waterproof clothing.
Yes, but if we take all that, there won't be space for anything else. Anyway, when I go canoeing, I always get wet. Why are you packing that?
If we don't have a map, we'll probably get lost.
Don't worry. If I bring my GPS, we'll know exactly where we are at all times. What about food?
I normally take tins and packets of food when I go on a trip like this.
Good idea. If you carry the food in your canoe, I'll pack both the tents in mine.
Maybe that's not such a good idea. If something happens to one of us, then the other person either won't have any food or won't have a tent.
Well, hopefully that won't happen if we're careful.
2.12 Unit 8B.
If it rains, we'll need this.
2.13 Unit 8D. 1,
Switch it on.
2,
Plug it into a laptop.
3,
Recharge it overnight.
4,
Send an email.
5,
Click on the link.
2.14 Unit 8D.
OK, all packed?
Nearly. I've got the tent. I've got my walking boots.
Have you got a good coat? They say it's going to rain.
I only have this one.
Yeah, it'll be OK. Hey, what's that?
Oh yeah, my brother gave it to me.
Wow, that is cool. Where do I switch it on?
Here, but you press this if you want different types of light.
What do you mean?
Press here if you want normal lighting, but you need to press here for long distances.
Wow, that's amazing!
It can light objects 60 metres away. And press it again and you get a flashing red light for emergencies.
Oh, I want one!
And listen to this.
How did you do that?
I pressed this button. It's a sound for emergencies. You know, if you get lost during the day and you need help.
Brilliant! What is this for?
Plugging it into your laptop.
Why do you need to do that?
To recharge the battery.
But what if you don't have your laptop?
Well, the battery lasts for 160 hours, so you shouldn't need it.
Fantastic! Where can I get one?
2.15 Unit 9 Opener.
While I was working as an English teacher in Japan, I tried to learn the language, but it was hard. Even the kids found their own language hard. This photo is of a second grade class at the school. They were all practicing writing some of the different letters for the sound sho in Japanese. A lot of Japanese words are homophones, so they have the same sound but different meanings. Japanese has so many letters and symbols to learn. There are several thousand, most of which have come from Chinese. It's similar to English in the sense that it has also taken words in the past from other languages. For example, you can find lots of English words which have come from the languages of German and French.
2.16 Unit 9A. 1,
Lesson.
2,
Enroll.
3,
Subject.
4,
Instruct.
5.
Apply.
2.17. Unit 9A. 1.
Every day, the ancient Shaolin Temple is visited by hundreds of tourists. They come from all over China and from every type of background. There are soldiers, business people, retired people, and young couples. In particular, there are parents with excited children who are punching and kicking. Most people have learnt about Kung Fu from films and TV, and so they all come to the Shaolin Temple, the place where Kung Fu began. According to history, people started learning Kung Fu at the Shaolin Temple in the 5th century. Since then, Kung Fu teachers have taught generations of students.
2.
Nowadays, the name of Shaolin is known across the Kung Fu world. It is a brand and a multi-million-dollar business. Shaolin products are sold from the website. There are film and TV projects, and Kung Fu demonstrations are given by groups of Shaolin performers. As a result, the Shaolin Temple has started a new interest in Kung Fu, and it is taught in hundreds of new schools in China. In the city of Dongfeng, for example, 10 kilometers from the Shaolin Temple, more than 50,000 students are enrolled at one of the 60 martial arts schools.
3.
For 6 days a week, 11 months a year, the school timetable starts early and finishes late. Male and female students as young as 5 get up early for their first class. They always wear red uniforms and stand in rows practicing Kung Fu. Many of these students have seen Kung Fu at the cinema, and they dream of becoming a Kung Fu film star or a famous kickboxer. Others want to learn the skills they will need for a good job in the military or police force. Some students are sent by their parents because the schools are well known for their hard work and discipline. At night, the students sleep in unheated rooms. They train outside even when the weather is below 0 degrees. They hit trees to make their hands stronger, and the movements are repeated again and again for hours on end.
2.18. Unit 9C. 1.
They took away the children.
2.
They gave up smoking.
2.19. Unit 9D.
Hello, Caulfield College. This is Melanie speaking.
Oh, hello. I'm calling about your evening classes starting this term. Are there any places left?
One moment. Let me take a look. I know one of them is full.
It's called Preparing More Effective PowerPoint Presentations.
Oh, yes, that is a popular course. There is one place, but I suggest you enroll soon.
Well, can I do it today?
Yes, it's all online, so you need to go to the website. When you click on the Enroll Now button, the first thing you're asked to do is fill in an enrolment form.
Right.
Have you seen the website?
Yes, but I didn't know if I had to fill in the form for a short course. There isn't an interview, is there?
No, nothing like that. But when you've completed the online enrolment form, a copy is sent to us here at the office and also to the course trainer.
And do I pay when I send you the form?
It's up to you. Payment is accepted either when you enrol or no later than 6 weeks before the course starts. But you must pay a deposit, so a place is reserved for you.
Well, I can pay it all straight away because my employer is paying.
Fine. After we've received payment, a receipt is emailed to your employer.
And then what happens?
Before the course starts, you mean?
Yes.
Once you've enrolled, you're sent a list of books to buy or any course materials. But actually, for your course, I don't think... No, all the materials are provided by the trainer. He'll provide those on the first day.
OK. Well, I'll book it now in that case. Thanks for your help.
You're welcome.
2.20 Unit 10 Opener.
Zoltan, you're a herpetologist, which means you study snakes all around the world. So you have to travel a lot. Do you ever take holidays?
No, not often. My work is also my hobby, so I've been to Paris, to Rome, to the pyramids, and I went sightseeing there, but it was always because my work took me there. For my last trip, I was in the Sudan, and I went looking for snakes.
But you must take a holiday sometimes.
Well, once or twice I have traveled to places not connected to snakes. For example, I spent a holiday in the Seychelles with some friends. They enjoyed the beach and the markets, while I went diving with my underwater camera.
Is that your most important item when you travel, your camera?
Yes, my camera and my sleeping bag. With a sleeping bag, you can sleep anywhere you want.
So do you ever stay in hotels?
If I go with friends, I might stay at a luxury hotel or a resort. But normally, I'm on my own, so I rarely book a hotel in advance.
What about when you were a child? Did your family take holidays?
Yes, but I have been interested in snakes since the age of 4. So when we traveled, I looked for snakes and took them home. For me, a holiday has always been about exploration, about finding beauty and the unknown.
2.21 Unit 10A 5.
I realised I'd lost my passport as soon as I put my hand in my pocket.
6.
By the end of the week, they'd had a wonderful time in Istanbul.
2.22 Unit 10A Story 1.
So, where did you go exactly?
On the River Nile, from Aswan to Luxor.
Wow! How long did it take?
Well, the cruise took about 4 days in the end, but we stopped in lots of places. But on the first day, just after we left Aswan, the boat's engine stopped working.
Oh no! What happened next?
Well, eventually they fixed the problem, but we spent an extra day on the ship, which was fine. It was relaxing watching day-to-day life on the river.
Story 2.
Where did you stay?
In a hotel near the railway station. But it was a mistake. My bag was stolen from hotel reception.
Oh no. When did it happen?
Just after we'd arrived.
Who took it?
A man outside the hotel. He'd followed us into the hotel. Fortunately, the hotel receptionist ran after him and got it back. After that, it was fine. We went sightseeing, visited a couple of museums, you know, all the usual things. But then, on the very last night, there was no electricity at the hotel.
So what did you all do?
Well, first I went to look for the manager, but she'd already left. The person at the front desk had some candles, and all the guests sat together in the bar area and sang songs. Actually, it was a lot of fun in the end. That was probably the best part of the holiday.
2.23, Unit 10B.
So, Madeline, we've talked about some of your photography and your travel writing with National Geographic magazine, but I know that you're also very excited about your new job.
That's right. Recently, I've also started working as a tour guide with National Geographic Adventures.
Is that strange for you? I mean, you're someone who is fascinated by travel and experiencing new places. So, what is it like taking groups of people around on tour buses and showing them famous cities? It sounds a bit boring for someone like you.
Actually, it's fascinating because it isn't anything like what you've just described. These are National Geographic adventure holidays, so they're special types of holidays for people who love adventure, and on my tours, they are especially interested in photography.
So this isn't your traditional package tour holiday by the beach with a bit of sightseeing?
No, not at all. It's for people who are bored with that kind of experience. This is something quite different. For example, my next job is in the famous Galapagos archipelago.
Wow!
Exactly. This tour is very exciting because I've never been there before, and it's such a legendary part of the world.
So give us a basic idea of the type of people who go on the tour. How big is the group, for example?
Well, it's a small group of us, about 9 or 10 usually. Sometimes it's couples, but often they're independent travelers, and you make new friends.
But don't independent travellers get annoyed with other people in the group? I mean, after all, they normally travel on their own.
Well, of course, everyone has the same interests, so quite a few people come on their own and then make friends with everyone in the group. But if someone wants to go and walk up the side of a volcano on their own, or spend the day in a canoe out on the sea, that's fine. The itinerary is very flexible. But there are also scheduled events. For example, I give some talks about taking photographs, and in the evenings we usually cook our meals together on a barbecue. It's a lot of fun.
One last question. Some of our listeners are probably thinking it all sounds amazing, but they're worried about the physical requirements for this kind of holiday. How physically fit do you need to be?
You don't have to be an athlete or anything, but you should be an active person, and we tell people that before they come. This is an adventure holiday, after all. But there's also plenty of time for relaxing by the beach in the evenings, and you never get tired of the views. It must be the best job in the world.
2.24, Unit 10B. 1.
Amazed. Amazing.
2.
Bored. Boring.
3.
Fascinated. Fascinating.
4.
Interested. Interesting.
5.
Frightened. Frightening.
6.
Worried. worrying,
7,
annoyed, annoying,
8,
tired, tiring.
2.25, Unit 10D.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Bonjour. Sorry, do you speak English?
Yes, I do. How can I help?
I'm interested in the Catacombs Museum. Can you tell me if it's open today?
Let me check. I don't think so. A lot of places are closed on a Monday in Paris. No, every day except Monday.
Oh, well, that's okay. What time does it open?
At 10 and it closes at 5. Would you like to book a ticket for tomorrow? I can do it for you here. There's usually a long queue for the catacombs, but if you book it here, you don't need to queue.
Oh, right. That sounds like a good idea. But I'd like to know how long it lasts.
The tour through the tunnels is 45 minutes long, and you might have to wait a few minutes at the beginning, so about an hour in total.
Fine. Is there much walking? I can't walk very far, you see.
Well, the tour is about 2 kilometers long, and there are some steps down under the ground at the beginning, and then at the end.
Do you have any idea how many steps there are? Is it far?
Oh, over 100, I think. Yes, 130.
Oh dear. Perhaps I'd better choose something else.
Have you been on the sightseeing bus? It takes you all around Paris.
2.26, Unit 10D. 1,
Do you know if there's a taxi rank near here?
2,
Do you have any idea how much it costs?
2.27, Unit 11 Opener.
Just over 100 years ago, the British explorer, Captain Robert Falcon Scott, died with his team of men in the snow and ice of Antarctica. He had reached the South Pole, but never returned to this hut, which was the base for his expedition. Now the hut is falling down under the snow, but we would like to save it. Not just because of its connection to Scott, though this of course is important, but actually we are more interested in what you find inside the hut. Because of the freezing temperatures in this part of the world, the hut has become a time capsule, a place where nothing has changed. So, for example, inside the hut there is butter and other items of food which are 100 years old. The ice has preserved them all. There are even some of Scott's old possessions and equipment. When you go inside, it's almost as if Scott has only just left the hut. It's important to look after this hut, because you can't find anything else like it in Antarctica or anywhere else in the world.
2.28, Unit 11A.
I believe archaeologists discovered this pyramid in 1978.
That's right. But we haven't excavated everything yet. There's still a lot to do.
Where are we standing now?
We're near the north wall of the pyramid.
And why have you brought me here?
Well, recently we discovered this box in the ground, which tells us a lot about the Aztecs.
Yes, I can see that it's full of objects. What are they?
Some of them are pots or plates, They used to make them for cooking.
I see. And what else is in there?
There were some small pieces of gold and a precious blue stone called jade, but we've taken them out now. The Aztecs used to do a lot of business, and so these types of stones were important. We also found some small statues which had religious importance. And also, there were knives. The Aztecs used to sacrifice animals, and even other humans, to their gods. So the knives are probably for sacrifices.
Ooh. Did you find any bodies?
Actually, yes. The skeleton of a dog, but it wasn't from a sacrifice. It wore a beautiful collar, so it was obviously an important animal.
Did the Aztecs used to keep dogs as pets?
No, they didn't used to have pets. Well, we don't think they did. But obviously this dog was important in some way. Maybe the owner used him for hunting.
2.29. Unit 11A.
The Nog used to live in Africa, but they didn't used to live in Europe. They used iron, but they didn't use any stone.
2.30. Unit 11A. 1.
Did the ancient Egyptians used to build pyramids and castles?
They used to build pyramids, but they didn't used to build castles.
2.
Did the ancient Greeks used to watch theatre and sport?
Yes, they did.
3.
Did the Celts used to live in South America and Asia?
No, they didn't. They used to live in parts of Western Europe.
4.
Did the North American Indians used to grow corn and potatoes?
Yes, they did.
2.31. Unit 11D.
Good morning, and thank you all for coming. Today, I'd like to talk about my holiday in Peru, and in particular, about my journey to Machu Picchu. It's also called the Lost City of the Incas. Let me begin by telling you about the history of Machu Picchu. It was discovered by the explorer Hiram Bingham in 1911. So, that's everything I wanted to say about Hiram Bingham. Now let's move on to the history of the Incas and why they built Machu Picchu. The first Incas lived in the region of Peru around the 13th century. Okay, now the next part of my presentation is about my own journey through Peru and up to Machu Picchu. For this, I'd like to show you some of my photos. So this first one is a picture of me in the town of Aguas Calientes. You have to catch the bus from here to Machu Picchu. Okay, that's the end of my talk. So, to sum up, Peru, and especially Machu Picchu, is a magical place, and anyone who is interested in history should go there. Are there any questions?
2.32. Unit 11D.
Good morning, and thank you all for coming. Today, I'd like to talk about my holiday in Peru, and in particular, about my journey to Machu Picchu. It's also called the Lost City of the Incas. Let me begin by telling you about the history of Machu Picchu.
2.33, Unit 12 Opener.
I'm standing in the middle of some trees on the quiet Barrow, Colorado Islands in Panama. It's 9 o'clock in the evening, so it's difficult to see. But if you wait and look really closely, you start to see the ground move, and what looks like leaves is starting to move. But they aren't leaves, they are toads. And during the day, they hide from other animals. On the side of the tree, there are 2 eyes looking at me. In fact, they are the wings of a butterfly. These animals are experts at using plants to hide themselves. And not only when they are hiding, but also when they go hunting. Take snakes, for example. I can't see any in the long grass I'm walking in, but I know that there are hundreds of them living here, so I have to be really careful.
2.34, Unit 12A.
Everyone looks at nature differently. Maybe you're somebody who has no interest in nature, and if you go anywhere green, you don't notice anything. Or maybe you can name a few different plants and animals in your local park. But for people like David Lichwager, nowhere in the world is without natural beauty. He sees plants and animals everywhere he looks. David is a photographer for National Geographic magazine, and he wanted to show how much nature there is around us all the time. So he took a green metal frame measuring 1 cubic foot to different locations around the world. For example, to the middle of a forest, on the side of a mountain, in the ocean, and in a river. Nowhere was too far away or too difficult for David. Then he spent 3 weeks in each place, and he photographed everything alive inside the green metal frame. This included photographing living things as small as 1 millimeter in size. The result was a series of photos showing over 1,000 individual organisms in each cubic foot, and a new view of our world and its ecosystem.
2.35, Unit 12B.
Would you move to another country if the weather became much hotter in your country?
No, I'd love it if the weather became hotter.
I'd go and live somewhere else.
Would you?
Yes, I wouldn't want to stay. I'd find a country with a colder climate.
Oh, I wouldn't. I'd spend every day outside by the pool.
2.36, Unit 12C. 1.
Economic difficulties.
2.
Social problems.
3.
Traditional industry.
4.
Modern development.
5.
Strong economy.
6.
Natural resources.
7.
Growing season.
2.37, Unit 12D.
What about giving us more money?
I'm sorry, but the council doesn't have any more money for the zoo.
But if we don't find a solution soon, then we'll have to close it. And the zoo is part of the city. It's a tourist attraction.
Yes, but that's the point. It simply isn't attracting enough tourists. You're going to have to find the money from somewhere else.
It's also an important place for animal conservation. Some of these animals are close to extinction. If we didn't have zoos, they wouldn't survive.
I understand that, but we need to find a different solution. What if you advertised the zoo more? In the newspaper or on the radio, for example?
But if we don't have any money, we can't advertise.
Well, why don't you try sponsorship? You know, ask a company to support the zoo.
Actually, that isn't a bad idea. You might be right.
I have the names of some company bosses you could contact.